Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been like laying in bed and a thought comes to your mind and you're like, oh, I have to go ahead and talk about that right away. Well, I was listening to David Dubine over at Adapt 2030, I don't know, probably about a week ago or so, and he says something interesting in one of his videos. He said that by the end of this year, that we will have ration books for food. And I thought to myself, man, I think eventually we will, but by the end of this year, how are they going to do that? Because most people are not going to want to abide by that. And then I think back to this. This is going to be our new ration book if it is pushed through. Not only will it be our new ration book, but it will be the way that the government and central banks totally control everything we do. Think about your daily life. How much in your daily life takes a transaction between you and someone else? I've stated in the past that money is a tool that you use to better your life, right? It gives you more options. Well, imagine a world where all of your options were condensed to a little ball. That's a ration book. Where all of your options are put on a list, and this is what you can pick from. That's a ration book. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen by the end of this year. But as you can see here, Digital Dollar Project to launch in 5 U.S. central banks. So 5 U.S. central banks are launching a digital dollar project in a pilot series. That's going to be our ration book, ladies and gentlemen. They will push this through. I read an article, I think it was yesterday, that said that by June, they're going to try to have some kind of a paper on digital dollars for the U.S. And in my opinion, they already have it. Usually when these players say that they are looking into this, it's because it's already done. The U.S. government / Federal Reserve, they've been working on this for like the last 4 years with MIT. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology or something like that. That's what MIT stands for. And once they implement this, what I think will happen is that they will implement a digital dollar along the regular U.S. Federal Reserve note. So they're not going to get rid of currency notes, of fiat currency notes. They're not going to get rid of them. They're going to live next to each other. And little by little, the Federal Reserve notes, as we know as the dollar, as we call the dollar, they'll disappear out of circulation until all that we have are digital dollars, Federal Reserve digital dollars. Now, what does that mean to you and to me? That all we interact with is digital dollars. It's not the same thing as interacting with decentralized digital currencies like Bitcoin, LITECOIN, Ethereum, things like that. It's not the same thing. Because a digital dollar can be programmed. And for instance, and it can be personalized to you. So do you all remember here a while back where I think it was the IMF that recommended that your credit score be attached to your browsing history? Now, we all know that this is already occurring in China. We all know that they have a social credit program that if you fall below a certain color, I guess they have different colors, green, red, yellow. I'm not sure exactly what colors, but if you fall within a certain threshold of the acceptable actions by their government, that they can restrict your movement. For example, some people cannot purchase an airline ticket or a train ticket. So they can restrict what you can and cannot purchase with your digital dollars. And I'm not sure if you have heard, but China is pretty much 100% digital dollar now. There's like no physical bills. People that try to act or buy with physical bills, they can't do it because no one's accepting them. So if that happens here, what are the ramifications? Well, here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just give you the low and dirty, I guess, as some people like to call it. Oh, and some have been asking me, why do you still wear a jacket? It's late May. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's late May, right? But it's still 63 degrees inside my house. I'm not sure if you can see my heater over here. It's got the temperature on there. And I refuse to turn my heater on in late May, okay? Anyways, getting back to it. So let's say they implement a digital dollar. And I'm going to go through a couple of very short articles with you, but I just want to give you my thoughts first. Let's say they implement a digital dollar. And we do have a physical food shortage, right? Like right now, I believe we have a food shortage in our nation, but it's not necessarily physical. It's more of an economical food shortage, meaning that the prices are going up and less people can afford to eat a decent diet because they can't afford it, right? They have to go to food banks. They have to buy cheap foods in order to be able to get calories. All right, so right now we have somewhat of a food shortage, in my opinion. However, that food shortage is more economical than physical. But the day will come when we have a physical food shortage where food will be less available and the prices will be a lot higher. So it's going to be worse than what it is now. Less food and even higher prices than what we're getting now. How will the government control that? It's very easy, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. You notice how supermarkets are mainly going to registers that don't have any cashiers? Like, for example, go to Walmart. There's usually 18 registers, 2 cashiers. Same thing almost everywhere you go. I went to Costco a few days ago, and I forgot how many cashiers they have, or registers. They have probably about 10 or 12 registers. There was like 3 or 4 cashiers, which is not bad. But still, they have most of their registers open with no cashiers in them, only about 4 cashiers. So I see a day when there won't be any cashiers. It will just be machines. You're going to do your own checkout. You're going to go through the aisle. You're going to click on the item that you want to buy. You're going to put it in your cart. And then as soon as you cross a certain threshold in the store, it's automatically going to charge your digital dollar wallet. What's the significance of that? It takes the person out of it. It takes empathy out of it. So once we have a digital dollar where absolutely no human interaction is needed for you to purchase something, especially food, you're going to go to a store. You're going to try to get what you need to get. And whatever you have in your wallet, your digital wallet, that's all you have. And there's not going to be anyone there to feel sorry for you. So if you only have so many credits this week or this month, so what? Nobody cares because nobody has to interact with you. It takes the human out of it. So now let's go back to controlling you. All right? I think they're going to do that not only with food. Let me get back to that. They're not only going to do that with food, but they're going to do that with electricity. They're going to do that with gas. For example, I see a day where the way that you pay for your electricity here, I think this is how it's done in the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong. Copernicus, let me know if I'm wrong. I think in the UK, the way that you pay your electricity, or maybe in some areas, I don't know if it's in the entire nation or the entire Europe, is that you prepay for your electricity. You can either use a card to prepay for it in a machine that's outside of your home or apartment building, or you can put cash into it. Please let me know if that's accurate or not. I remember seeing something on that years ago, really, that they were going to start doing that. So they're going to do that also with energy, with gas, with your heating fuel. You're going to have to pay a machine. And if you can't pay the machine because you don't have enough credits, then that machine doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what your story is. You're just not going to get it. And if there's something that they want you to buy more of, they'll incentivize you to buy more of that by maybe giving you more credits towards that. And the same in the opposite. If there is something that they want you to buy less of, they can restrict you from buying it. But the scariest part, ladies and gentlemen, is this, is that they will have full control of when you spend your money. What do I mean by that? Let's say they deposit $1,000. Let's say you went to work and $1,000 was deposited in your digital currency wallet. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to save up so that I can get me a car in a few years. So I'm going to save up $200 or $300 a month, put it in a side account so I can buy me a nice used car in 2 or 3 years. Well, they can actually put a timestamp on your currency, which means that if you don't use this currency by such date, that it will be devalued in its actual value. So if you started out with $1,000, let's say, and you took that whole $1,000 and said, I'm not going to spend this, I'm going to save it for a couple of years, and I'm going to add on to it so that I can buy a car. Well, they may put a timestamp on that $1,000 that says, hey, if you don't use this $1,000 within 6 months, it's going to go down in value by 10%. So in 6 months, that $1,000 that you put aside is now only $900. So they're going to be able to control how you spend your money and how fast you spend your money if we go to a full digital currency that's controlled by the government/Federal Reserve. That's what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. That is the ration book of the future. But we just don't know it yet. I believe they already have this planned. The government never does anything by happenstance. They always think about it ahead of time. They act on it, keep it secret, and then when the next big crisis comes, which we will have another one coming, I think it's going to be in the form of either food via natural disasters like that mega drought that we're having in the West, or it's going to be financial. The financial system is going to collapse, and we're going to have a huge liquidity problem. It'll be something, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be a catalyst that will allow them to take advantage of that situation. So let me stop talking and let's go ahead and read on real quick. The U.S. nonprofit Dollar Project said on Monday it will launch 5 pilot programs over the next 12 months to test the potential uses of a U.S. central bank digital currency, the first effort of its kind in the United States. The private sector pilots initially will be funded by Accenture, I think that's how you pronounce it, and involve financial firms, retailers, and NGOs, among others. The aim to generate data that could help U.S. policymakers develop a digital dollar. They've already developed it, ladies and gentlemen. They've had this in the back burner probably for years now. A partnership between Accenture and the Digital Dollar Foundation, the Digital Dollar Project was created last year to promote research into a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC. There are conferences and papers coming out every week around the world on CBDCs based on data from other countries. What there is not is any real data and testing from the United States to inform the debate. CBDCs are the equivalent, ladies and gentlemen, of just banknotes and coins, just like we talked about. And it says giving holders a direct digital claim on the central bank and allowing them to make instant electronic payments. So, ladies and gentlemen, what this says is that with a CBDC, the Federal Reserve, without the consent of the Congress, can just send you and I digital dollars directly. That's why they can't get rid of the physical dollar right away. What does that mean? That means that we no longer have control. We, the people who are supposedly represented by Congress, no longer have control over our money. Not like we have had for the last 50 years. I don't think we've really had any control over it for the last 50 years, at least we, the people, all right? But we will have even less control. The Congress will have even less say as to how much debt the United States gets into, because the Federal Reserve will just be able to send you money directly. And then they'll be able to tell you how you can spend your money or how long you have until your money's gone. That's the future we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Why am I talking about this? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the thing is that if this comes to be in 6 months, a year, whatever it is, you will be restricted as to what you can buy. You're not restricted as to what you can buy now. So instead of holding dollars in the bank, go ahead and hold dollars in your pantry. Go ahead and hold dollars in your tool shed. Go ahead and hold dollars in fuel cans that you have full of fuel just in case. Hold dollars in tires. Do you get my drift? Hold dollars, but don't hold them in the dollar form. Hold them in the form of stuff. Because the only thing that's going to happen is that stuff is going to continue to go up in price. And when this CBDC eventually takes its course, you are going to be restricted as to what you can and cannot purchase, or how much of it you can and cannot purchase. That's why I'm saying this. I think this is very important that we pay attention to this digital dollar stuff. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Some people may say, yes, Bitcoin and cryptos were created so that people can get used to a cryptocurrency or the idea of a cryptocurrency, and then the government can come in and say, here you go, we've got our own cryptocurrency, why don't you use this instead? That may be so, ladies and gentlemen, but the fact of the matter is this. We are headed towards a future where things are going to become more scarce, real things. And the governments of the world are going to try to control how much of those things we can get, whether we earned them or not. Meaning that if you went out there and worked an 80-hour week, you want to be able to spend your money how you want to spend your money. But now, no matter how hard you work, you're going to be able to spend your money how you're told to spend your money. That's what this new system means, amongst other things. But that's what it means, that you will have to do what they want you to do, because you have no choice. No matter how much harder you worked than the guy next door, you will have no choice but to get the same 5 pounds of rice a month that your neighbor gets. The People's Bank of China was the first central bank to roll out a digital currency. The digital yuan recently got a boost when China's biggest online retailer announced it has developed the first virtual platform to accept the Chinese digital currency. Digital currency is nothing more than a virtual banknote or coin that exists in a digital wallet on your smartphone instead of a billfold or a purse. Digital currencies issued by central banks are backed by the state, just like traditional fiat currency. All they are is a fiat currency. China was the first to experiment with digital currencies, but other countries are interested in the idea. U.S. officials have already toyed with the possibility of a digital dollar. A Democratic proposal for stimulus payments in the wake of the health crisis featured digital currency deposited into digital wallets. The powers that be will offer all kinds of reasons for moving to a digital currency, but at the root of the movement is the war on cash. It creates the potential for the government to track, even control, consumer spending. And it would make it even easier for central banks to engage in manipulative monetary policy, such as negative interest rates. And ladies and gentlemen, negative interest rates is, like I told you before, that timestamp that they put on your dollars in a digital currency. Ladies and gentlemen, let me finish it off with this, because this is exactly what it's all about. It's all about control. At the end of the day, central bank digital currencies are all about control, not meeting consumer demand. The ECB admits as much as several points in their report. Here is just one instance. If people are really demanding a digital euro, why would it have to be assigned legal tender status in order for it to be accepted? As the authors of the report clearly state, would be necessary. So what they're saying is that people really want a digital currency, then why does it have to be a law that you have to use it, right? The only scenario where introducing a CBDC makes sense is in order to phase out the use of physical cash in order to be able to impose whatever negative interest rate regime the central bankers in charge judge necessary. Helicopter money, restrictions on cash holding, and negative interest rates are all part of the bundle of the desirable policies that can only or mostly easily be achieved with a digital currency fully controlled by the issuing bank. It's all about control, ladies and gentlemen, plain and simple. And you know what? I'm not a pessimist. Any of you that have been here for a while know that I'm not a pessimist by nature. But it's going to happen. You know why? Because people will demand it. Something will happen where the people are so devastated or destitute that the central banks or the government will come out and say, hey, I've got this little candy right here and it will solve all your problems. And people will say, absolutely, bring it on. Ironically, far from bolstering the role of central banks in government fiat money, imposing a CBDC may have the completely opposite effect. Replacing physical cash with CBDC would only strengthen the undesirable qualities of fiat money. Yep. and further hamper a free market in money and financial services, increasing the demand for alternatives to government money such as gold and Bitcoin. And this is coming from Peter Schiff, all right, who hates Bitcoin, but he can accept the fact that Bitcoin is a free currency, meaning that you don't have to get it if you don't want it. Gold is a free currency, meaning that you don't have to get it if you don't want it. But a CBDC, you would have no choice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I hope this is a good thought experiment for you. Do your own research. Please leave some comments under the description of the video. I would love to read some comments and see what you're thinking about this, because I see this as coming. You know, when people talk about these kinds of things, they're called Chicken Little, and let me tell you why. Because things like this take a long time to span out. Peter Schiff, for example, was screaming and hollering for years prior to the 2008 financial collapse, or whatever you want to call it, kind of collapse, right? People were laughing at him until a whole bunch of people in the United States, millions of Americans, lost their homes. Until we had the biggest financial crisis in the history of mankind up to that date. He was being called Chicken Little. He was being laughed at in public, you know. And then when it happened, nobody wanted to talk to him because they didn't want to face the same guy that they were mocking for years. So when you see something like this come about, or someone talk about it, just like I saw David Dubine talking about it on one of his videos, don't dismiss it just because it didn't happen in a week. These things take a while to plan out, and in a way, that's good news. That's good. Why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Alaska Prepper channel, and we're into what? We're into preparedness. Not only into preparedness of things that are physical, right, like food and stuff, but also knowledge. And with knowledge, you can better prepare yourself for the future. Having said that, thank you very much. I hope I didn't make this video too long. I hope you have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember that today at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, we will have our live stream. All right, so it's going to be open house Fridays. So you're welcome to come over and hang out for a little bit. Reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm the Alaska Prepper. I am out.